enabling a national economic diversification policy and depending less on a single revenue source. So, you know, it's about how the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia would maximize the potentials of intellectual property regimes in actualizing the policy of diversifying from oil and gas, which used to be the mainstay of the kingdom's economy. In the process of doing a research for this talk, I actually discovered something unique about Saudi Arabia. I've just discovered that Saudi Arabia is actually the only developing country right now that has consciously, and not just, you know, a lot of countries talk, we want to diversify, we want to do this, and they set up committees, they set up panels, and the reports gather dust on the shelf in executive offices. Saudi Arabia is actually a country that talks the talks and walks the walk, because they are actually doing it. We are seeing in actual fact the emergence of something very unique, the smart city, NEOM, you know, which is an epitome of actual diversifying your economy from extractive economy to intellectual, or what I call digital economy. So, what's all this about intellectual property strategy? You know, I'm going to run through a list of IPs. IPs evolving. We are creating more IP schools. The traditional ones we know of copyright, patent, trademark, designs. Now we have geographical indications, which deals mostly with food and products, identification, connecting product and food to geographical origins. We have folklore. We have now we have digital copyright, and the most of the big thing, which is more relevant to my talk, it's the fourth industrial revolution, the AI move, the machine learning era, which we all know that maybe in the next 2-3 years, we're all going to be controlled by robots. Because almost everything now, in fact, the lawyers, the Ivy scholars are actually making a big deal to grant AIs the same kind of rights humans have, like giving them the right to own patent and copyright on all other IPs. So, now, so here, I'm going to really focus on what really matters for me. And for me, Saudi Arabia, although they came in late, you can see they joined WIPO, that's the World Intellectual Property Organization, in 1980, which is a good thing, because joining the World Intellectual Property Organization, WIPO, gives them a platform to maximize the richness of intellectual assets they have here. Saudi Arabia, apart from the vast land, apart from the God-given resources they have, they also have good agricultural products that are unique to Saudi Arabia. We have dates. Last weekend we were in Al-Basha. I was told that it's one of the countries that, one of the cities that actually has a lot of quality dates. You know, so that's another area where Saudi Arabia can maximize. Sadly, Saudi Arabia is not yet a party to the Geneva Treaty that deals with geographical indication. I hope they are working towards it. That will also give them a bigger platform where, just like we have now, you know, we have cheese, we have wines, associated with Paris, if France, now we have basmati rice, China and India and Pakistan are fighting for who owns the geographical indication rights for basmati. So you see, a lot of countries are looking broadly into what they have. Most of these things, you don't really need much money. It's God has given you this, or nature, whatever you ascribe it to. It's there. In Ethiopia, we have teff that is known to have its nutritious qualities. In Nigeria, we have gari, we have Ijebu gari, we have Nsuka pepper. These are all unique things that countries can actually look at, especially countries that entirely focus on extractive assets like oil and gas. And we are talking about clean air, global warming, or green energy. And this is the right time to maybe de-emphasize most of the things that might make our health unbearable. And so that is the angle I'm coming at. See, we see that Saudi Arabia actually has done a lot. In a short time, they've come into the Committee of Nations of IP. They've acceded to currently, they've acceded to about 9, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Recently, they acceded to the Nairobi Accord, a treaty that recognizes that we have to protect the Olympic, the rings, so you can't commercialize that ring. So Saudi Arabia just, I think that was this year, they acceded to that treaty. They've acceded to patent law treaty, patent cooperative treaties, the Paris Convention for Protection of Industrial Property. But sadly, I hope they're working on it. Saudi Arabia has not acceded, in my view, to the most important treaties that actually would energize their diversification. Because see, when we're talking about the smart city and NEOM, these are all institutions that are going to be run by technology. They're going to be run by innovation. People are going to want to come in with their inventions to power stuff, and they need to be protected. I mean, we all know how patent is a big deal now. We all know how copyright, especially in the music industry. So the WIPO Copyright Treaty of 1996 was a turning point in the world where the world economy actually changed from 1996, because after that treaty, iTunes, YouTube, all the things now we are enjoying now, although most scholars then they raise a lot of alarm. This law is going to destroy creativity. It's going to make only rich people own copyright and patent. But we see now that that's not the case. Actually, the current regime has actually made you and I enjoy technology. We have WhatsApp, we have Netflix, and you can watch movie for cheap now online, sit in your home. This is as a result of the new laws, what I call digital copyright laws or digital IP laws. So I wish the kingdom starts working towards acceding to the WCT. And also, I'll go back a little bit, the Beijing Treaty on Audiovisual Performances. That is the new treaty, was just came into force in April of 2020. You see, I want to use Nigeria as an example. We've seen that although it wasn't like a conscious effort, I said, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia is the only developing country so far that is consciously doing this. A country like Nigeria, it was the drive, the place where they found themselves in terms of their movie industry, in terms of their creative industry. We know what they call Nollywood. Nollywood is among the 3 biggest cinematic industry now. We have Hollywood, we have Bollywood, and now we have Nollywood. And a lot of people, and that's actually one of my key research areas. I wrote a big dissertation of 400, 500 pages on that. And a lot of people never knew that Nollywood was just a pedestrian, it was just a fluke. A guy called Kenneth Ngwebe, just went to Japan and bought empty VHS device. He came to do something different. But when he got back to Nigeria, that business he had became obsolete. So he said, what am I going to do? I've imported all this large chunk of. So he now called a group of friends and they sat in the room and they started acting. And that was the time the bad economic policy of the Nigerian military government then introduced what they call structural adjustment program that destroyed most of the value of the naira, the local currency. So the movie industry was dead in Nigeria then. So see, now, Nollywood became what it is today because of digital copyright jurisprudence, because of IP. Although Nigeria is working towards changing their laws to really have bite and teeth to help the creatives, it was fundamental that this industry actually brought Nigeria to become the biggest economy above South Africa, biggest economy in Africa. So you see, looking at an unplanned situation and compare it with something that is deliberate now, so you will see if it's properly done, it's properly organized, this experiment of a smart city will really, really give Saudi Arabia buck for their money. Now, Saudi Arabia is doing very well. They have a Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property. It's a new body who's trying to now bring IP, promote IP, and also bring the awareness. But in my opinion, they still have a long way to go in terms of pushing all this important and convincing the authorities that the need to be members of these treaties. So there is a controversy. I don't want to dive into it. If you read my comment, it's going to come out by next week. You will see a paper published by Oxford University Press. Although I use Nigeria, but it's going to be used, it's a model I created for developing countries. But I use Nigeria as a case study. We'll get there in the next slide. Now, I know as a scholar in this field, because I've done a lot of research, we've had a lot of arguments with my friends from Saudi Arabia who are IP scholars. I know that Saudi Arabia is hanging on certain issues, especially cultural issues and religious issues, legal issues, Sharia law related, to not absorb hook, line, and sinker, which is their right as a sovereign country, because even under TRIPS, which TRIPS gives every country the right to have an exception, not take everything. You have to take things that will not destroy you. You have to take things that will promote you. So I'm also aware that earlier on in the early 80s and late 70s, there was this scholarship going on, or this discussion going on, whether Sharia recognizes, whether it's even IP, intellectual property, is compatible with Islamic faith. But I think that has been taken care of by now. Why? Because if it wasn't, Saudi Arabia being one of the epitome that hosts the two most important institutions in Islam, would not set up an IP authority. So that tells us that Islamic scholars, and I have an article here, a very good article by a scholar who has, with the verses in Quran and all that, says that although Quran has not really mentioned anything about intellectual property, of course it wouldn't. Because it was
indirectly might have.
No, that's what I'm coming at. That's what I'm coming at.
Interpretation.
Interpretation.
But it encourages people to be creative because Allah has given us that gift.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
And if you can use the gift, I mean, look at medicine, look at HIV, look at that. You see, it's that gift. Even now, COVID, without that patent, we wouldn't have that quick. That's a discussion for another time in terms of whether it should be free or not free and all that. You know, I'm a capitalist. Nothing is free.
Yes.
So we'll get to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so you see, the last thing is that so how do we go forward? I have 3 basic recommendations, structure. First, just like every country, even the United States, they struggle with IP for a long time, but you have to have the training, you have to have education. These are times an abstract field. You need to have subject matter experts. And where do you get subject matter experts? They're in the universities or the higher institutions. So I, like in that article I wrote, the universities in Saudi Arabia have to start developing curriculum that are basically experiential, that are slanted to the modern evolving economy in terms of digital technology related. And you know, we have to change our, I'm suggesting, not just South Africa, not just Saudi Arabia, because I was in South Africa, not just Saudi Arabia, most developing countries who are on this path of diversifying. I'm suggesting that you need to train the pool that will come out, the judges that will come out, the arbitrators that will come out and decide disputes. And even the experts, the lawyers, the technocrats, the physicists, because IP actually is interdisciplinary area. It's not only for lawyers these days. You know, we need scientists, we need technologists. I mean, when I used to practice, when we're having a litigation, we'll have to look for biotechnologists. I mean, real core biotechnology. Who's going to read the patent? We're going to, you know. So we have to start developing not just the teaching methods, but also the whole curriculum, changing it to reflect the industry as it is. So bringing out those, once in a while, those who are in the industry to teach the students, not just theories, but real practical issues that connect with policies outside. So the Saudi Authority for Intellectual Property should be, the capacity should help them, and maybe on a ad hoc basis, experts too should go in there and be giving talks with them, and there should be a link between the active collaboration between the Saudi Authority, just like the U.S. Copyright Office and the Patent Office. They have an active collaboration with universities in America. They're doing programs, they're training. You see, this helps a lot. So I suggest the same template for the SAIP. So, well, we have other infrastructural development like tax rebate, already is going on in the smart city. You will need to encourage those who have already been on this path to come in and collaborate with you. Movie is a big industry now. It brings a lot of internal revenue, and also it empowers. You see, digital technology has democratized the movie industry. It's no more the big movie houses or the MGMs. So, like Nollywood, you can produce a small budget movie and it's on Netflix. And you know what happens when once it's on Netflix, people keep watching it, the income also will come to the people who actually made the movie, not just the MGMs of this world. So it's a model that is going to even help the economy to the, for economists, whether trickle down or up down, it's going to work in a good way. So, we've talked about all this. Now, this is where I conclude. I conclude that the kingdom should look into acceding to the core laws, international laws, example WCT, WIPO copyright treaties, and the Beijing Treaty. I'm so happy, before I forget, that, and also the Geneva Treaty on geographical indication. The kingdom has acceded recently to the Marrakesh Treaty. That's the treaty that gives the disabled, those who are challenged, visually challenged, and can't actually read prints, documents. They've joined the treaty that allows, there's an exception now for the visually challenged people. They don't have to infringe on copyright, especially on stuffs on the internet. So you see now that our less fortunate brothers and sisters are going to be more engaged. You know, things are happening, learning aids and all that. So for countries like Saudi, who are now part of that treaty, your people who are visually impaired, you see, they can take my work online and use it, and I won't have to come looking for to sue. So that's a good thing. It's Ethiopia, good enough, has done the same thing just recently, and is helping out because of the population of visually disabled persons. You know, it's helped increase that population access to education and access to information. So that's where we are. So if you have time, it's going to be open access, so that's a good thing. I've talked more in this paper. It should be out next week. You know, so it's an open access, and you don't need to struggle about it. Just download that thing. So that's where we are. Questions? I think we have enough time to at least. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Samuel. Questions? Yeah, go. Turn the camera.
Oh yeah, sorry.
To you, not to
Oh,
me.
okay.
Give it to him.
Yeah, I was just. I think the only thing I understood was the rice. So I got a bit hungry. So were you talking about the Pakistani basmati rice? Were you?
Well,
that was a joke. Carry on, please.
No, yeah, that's actually
It was
a
an
good.
attempt at
That's actually a good point, because see, there's this ongoing dispute between, and you know, it's political too. It's political, but under the geographical indication school, a part of intellectual property. It's a new area that was carved out from, you know, it deals mostly with food and products that are unique to a geographical region. So, you see, the problem India and Pakistan is having is that, you see, we cannot really draw a line or a wall between the landmass of Pakistan and India.
It's blurred.
So, the agriculturists or whatever scientists cannot tell me that at a point, the nutrient on the ground that gives basmati rice the flavor that it has, because that's what makes a product a GI, the quality, and that quality ought to be associated either with the uniqueness of the temperature or the cultural practice and all that. So we can't really see that landmass because, okay, this is India's nutrient and this is Pakistan nutrient. So they've been going all about, I think, somewhere at the highest level of arbitration somewhere now. Yeah, like a scholar, my friend Irene Kabuli wrote about, they would just have to bring a new regime for countries. Ethiopia and Eritrea has the same issue, but they are not fighting with TEF and Sudan, because all that area has this TEF. They will have to come up with a new regime that for countries who share the same landmass, and everybody gets their own tag, maybe GI PK in the products. So everybody knows that this is from Pakistan. So you can't just give one country, like as far as basmati rice. You can't say that basmati rice belongs to India. It's not going to be okay. Neither can you say it belongs to, so both of them have to share. Yep.
Yeah, Sammy, we've talked about this before, and I'm just looking for more clarity. We have a system here at PMU, most every department uses Blackboard. And we put most of our exams online. And whether it be a cultural, agricultural, or archaeological course, or a math course, or in my case, a reading course, can we take things from textbooks that we find online or textbooks that we've actually purchased and use them for testing purposes? In other words, we're using it on a closed system. There's no money being made by it, and we want to, say, give a reading test or publish a short article about some archaeological dig in Western Saudi Arabia and ask the students to respond to it in some way. And every department would use something from somewhere. And I'm just wondering if we're in violation of any copyright laws that you know of.
Yeah, straight ahead, that's an easy take because almost every because countries take from the treaties. So there's that. Some countries call it fair use. Most of the North America, America especially, calls it fair use, and Europe mostly calls it fair dealing. So that's the fair dealing, fair and dealing. You know, Europe mostly calls it fair dealing. I think America and Canada, we use the concept of fair use. They are legally distinct, but they have the same objective. So for educational purposes, you can take a whole lot of somebody's work and use it for educational purposes.
But you need to cite this to make some citation.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You need to say, in case you don't even cite it, that's where I was coming. Even if you don't cite it, you know, citing it will be your academic doom if you are using it for like a scholarship, you know. But when we're talking of instruction here now, like the case is saying, is you know, taking it from the online to online, especially it's closed. And don't forget, one of the things about closed educational thing is that it has to be password control, password. So it's not for the whole world. Everybody cannot access that closed. So that's another layer to show you that I'm not using it to make money. Yes, at the down end, you know, back end, people might make money. Why? I'm saying that because students pay school fees. But that is not the Supreme Court of in the Campbell case in the US, which is the main case about that every country has adopted now. Even if you make money from somebody's copyrighted work, we're going to look at other factors. So this is an educational institution. So we can say that we are not making money. That thing we are doing is not the one running the school. But the immediate reason we are copying, taking your work here, is to teach students, and the law has made exception for that purpose. You know, but the problem lies if one of the instructors here, this is where the catch now, from a practical and practitioner's point of view, if one of you now takes that and creates his own website,
What?
creates his own website, okay, and now claims that he's also teaching, it's for educational purpose. Yeah, now you are walking towards a trap of infringement. Because you definitely, they'll slam on you. You know what I mean? The publishers are going to come after you. Especially this age that any small thing online can become very big. You can make millions of money within a second. So they're going to come after you. But they can't come after you or PMU when you are doing that time.
Can I follow up?
Yeah.
Let's assume that a big publishing house, Oxford University Press or Longmans, Pearson, sends a letter to PMU and says, we understand that you're planning to use some of our copyrighted material for your exams.